Hello everyone and welcome back to another tutorial of a classic game in which my family loves. It's a game that we've played I don't know how many hours of. My wife is a huge fan of it, and that is Splendor. Splendor is a multiplayer card-based board game. In this game you take on the role of gem merchants in the Renaissance. You do this by developing gem mines, transportation, and shops. All of these things to accumulate victory points. Not only is this a beautiful game, it's easy to play and gets people hooked, wanting to play more. So as far as setup goes, this is what you want for your setup. There are 3 decks of cards, each with a different pip on it. This one has 1 pip, this one has 2, and this one has 3. And what these mean are difficulties, basically. Any of the ones that have 1s are fairly easy to get, whereas the ones with 2 are a little harder, and 3, of course, is more difficult. Now, what you have over here these are gems. They come in different colors, and each of these colors correspond with buying power to purchase these cards. So, for instance, looking at this card here, what this card will get you is 1 blue gem. This blue gem can be used throughout the rest of the game to buy any other card that needs blue gems. It needs a white one, a green one, a red one, and a black one. And basically you just have to have, in order to get this card, you have to have 1 token of each of these colors. Once you have these 4 colors, then you can spend them to buy this card. But before we get there, let me discuss everything else about this board. So, for setup, what you'll need to do is you'll need to take each of these decks and flip out 4 cards, just like this, lined up in a row. So this is the 1 row, 2 row, 3 row. Also, depending on how many players you have, you need to flip out what are called nobles. These are basically large point getters that oftentimes decide the game. We'll get to those in a minute. But in a game, it depends on how many players you have. So for instance, in a game of 4, you would need 5, because it's number of players plus 1 to determine how many nobles go onto the board. Now, the only ones that are different for these are these yellow ones, and these are considered wild cards. I'll get to that in just a second. So, in this game, you have 4 options for actions. First one is just grabbing tokens. You need these tokens to buy cards on the board, and on your turn you can take 3 tokens. They have to be different colors. So for instance, if I want to buy that card, I need a white, I need a green, and I need a red. Now I don't have quite what I need to purchase that card, but it's what I can do on the turn. Usually turns are very quick. This game moves pretty quick, especially if you have played before and know how to play. But that's your first option. Second option is, instead of that, I can take 2 of 1 color. Now, the only thing that is different about that is, let's say in the draw deck over here for red, there was only 3 tokens. Then I would not be able to take 2. I can only take 1 of that color. If there's 4 or more, then I'm free to take 2 of 1 color. So, for tokens, you can take 3 of different colors, or you can take 2 of 1 color. Your third option is reserving a card. So let's say a card flips out and you really need it. So these cards, they have different victory points on them. So for instance, this card here has a large 2 in the top left corner. They're worth 2 prestige points, which in order to win this game, you need 15 of those. So that might be a card that you might be looking at. Even though it might be a little bit more expensive, it has prestige points on it. Your third action is reserving a card. So, for instance, let's say you looked at this card, and you just really needed this green card, and it's got 5 green tokens on it. 5 green can be kind of hard to get, especially in the beginning. You're going to have to spend several turns building up that. So what you can do is you can take this card plus a wild token and set it aside for later. Basically, I can set this card here into my reserve area. I can't use the ability I can't use whatever it provides, so it provides 1 green chip. I can't use that, but it's here ready for me to purchase at a later date. Once a card has been taken, you'll flip over the next card, and that goes onto the board. Now your fourth action, is probably the most obvious one, is you can look at these development cards, and you can just buy one. If you, let's say you looked at this one, and you had a 1 white, a 1 green, a 1 red, and a 1 black, then you could just take this card, purchase it outright, get rid of the chips, and place it here. The great thing about this game is the more cards you buy, the more buying power you have. Because every single one of these cards that you purchase has a symbol in the top right corner. And what that is a permanent 1 blue. So for instance, if I had this card here, I purchased it, it's now mine, and I wanted to get this card. Well, this card has 2 blue and 2 black on it. That's what it takes to purchase this. What you can do instead is this has 1 blue on it, so all I would need in addition to that is 1 more blue and 2 black. And I have these, and I have these, and I have what I need to purchase that card. So now I will take that card, and I will just play it here. It gets rid of all of the gems that you had used on it, so those go away. But this blue, of course, stays on your board. So it's a permanent addition, and you're able to buy more and more and more things as it goes along. And that's basically the only way you're able to buy some of these top tier cards. So for instance, like this card here, it has 4 victory points on it, but it costs 7 green. There's only 7 green tokens here in total. So while you might get lucky and hoard all of those until you get to the top, or you might, get some of these yellow tokens, which are wilds. But it's easier to just get some of these cards that have a green in the top right corner and have that contribute towards this 7. So as the game progresses, you'll buy more and more cards, and you'll build up a whole set of cards here. I'm just going to take a few. Eventually, you're going to have enough of these cards that you're going to be looking at these over here. Now, these are your nobles. These get you a lot of points, and they're things that you get for just meeting their minimum, meeting their requirements. It's not necessarily anything extra you have to do, but you might be gearing yourself towards one of these or 2 of these to get more victory points faster. So for instance, let's say I had Alright, so let's say the game had progressed and I got to the point where I had 1, 2, 3, 4 blue cards and 1, 2, 3 white cards. Now, I could purchase this card here, take it into my total, and that would give me 4 blue and 4 white. And that meets the parameters for this here. Now what that happens is once I've purchased that card and I've reached the minimum, this at the end of the round will come over to me, and that's 3 more victory points for me. You can only get 1 noble each round. So that's 1, but let's say I was meeting another thing. For instance, I'm meeting this one as well. It has 3 white, 3 blue, 3 green. Now, before I even had this card, I would have gotten this on a previous round. But just an example of you wouldn't be able to get 2 in 1 round. It's not a super complicated game. The hardest part is probably just managing your gems. You can never have more than 10 gems. You can have as many of a color as you can hold, but you can only have a total of 10 gems. But that brings you to the end of the game. Once someone has reached 15 prestige points, then that triggers the end of the game. Depending on where they were in the turn is how many more plays people have. So for instance, if whoever started the game finished, then the other number of players would get to finish out their round before the game was officially over. In a lot of games, they allow everyone to have the same number of turns to make it fair. In this game, especially, once someone has reached 15, then you have one more turn to get as many victory points as you can to hopefully surpass them. Because depending on what you buy, you might be able to purchase one of these 4 victory point cards and take yourself above the threshold in which they have reached. Because once the game is over, whoever has the most victory points wins. And that isn't necessarily whoever triggered the end of the game. But that's Splendor. Splendor's a great game. Like I said, it's one that my family really enjoys. It feels like there's a lot of different strategies and stuff you can take in it. And it's one that is, once again, fairly easy to teach and just a pretty game overall. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and hopefully this was able to help you out with getting started with the game. And if you have any other questions about the game, feel free to get in the comments section. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you as we play this game tomorrow. And that's the way we roll.